Good evening. Welcome to North West Tonight with Annabelle Tiffin. Our top story. James's murder could have been prevented if the authorities had handled his killer differently.
It is clear that there were failure after failure by virtually all the state agencies who dealt with Sadala. Our boys didn't stand a chance.
The Liverpool school teacher was one of 3 men stabbed to death in a park in Reading by Kari Sadala. Also tonight, a tumultuous week for the Co-op Live Arena. More gigs are cancelled and the venue's boss quits. Big changes and new locations. The RHS announced that Tatton's annual flower show will now be every 3 years. A huge thank you. A Liverpool runner meets the off-duty doctors who saved his life when his heart stopped.
And we got off to a rather chilly start this morning, but through today we've seen some rain but also some sunshine. What's the weather like this weekend? Joining me at the end of the programme, I'll give you all the details.
An inquest has found that a Liverpool teacher who was stabbed to death in Reading might still be alive were it not for failings by counter-terror police, probation and mental health services. James Furlong was one of 3 men murdered by extremist Kari Sadala in 2020. Sadala was well known by the authorities before he carried out the attack. Here's our Merseyside reporter, Andy Gill.
Part of it's just embracing German culture as well and the differences.
James Furlong was 36 when he died. He was head of history at a school in Berkshire. But he grew up in Liverpool and taught at a school in the south of the city.
He was fun, witty, kind.
Yeah, he was always considerate of other people.
Inspirational, as a word we always heard for him as well. And he loved his job, he loved to teach.
James and 2 of his friends were stabbed to death in Reading 4 years ago. The attacker was Kari Sadala, a former child soldier from Libya who came to the UK in 2012. He was jailed repeatedly in the UK and would have been deported if the situation in Libya allowed that. Sadala was released from prison shortly before the attack. The security services, prison, probation and mental health professionals all dealt with him. And today the coroner said there was a catalogue of failings. There were failures by 1 or more identified state agents and organisations to protect lives. Sadala had said in prison he wanted to stab someone, but that intent to attack was only included in intelligence reports after the murders. One intelligence assessment of Sadala was simply inadequate. There were significantly troubling failings by counter-terrorism police in the southeast. Tonight, James's family said the authorities let them down.
We have sat in court demoralised, bewildered and disillusioned by the agency's failure to effectively communicate, assess the risk and protect the public. It is clear to us that the boys were failed by the agencies who we entrusted to protect them.
Before the inquest, James's parents told the BBC that they'll mark the anniversary of his death every year.
Myself and Jan will go back to Reading on the 20th of June every day till the day we die. But I've got to be honest, it's one of the most difficult things is when you go into that area. It's so very, very hard because Forbury Gardens doesn't define James. It's just where a horrible, horrible thing happened. And I don't want to remember him for that.
As a result of his findings, the coroner will issue numerous prevention of future death notices to the government and other state agencies. Andy Gill, BBC North West Tonight, Liverpool.
Now, last week, the team behind the new Co-op Arena in Manchester was making the final touches before opening their doors for a test event on Saturday. Well, that didn't go to plan, which led to big names like Peter Kay being moved into next week. Now, those dates have been shifted again and the manager has quit. Quite the week for the biggest live indoor arena in the UK. Mairead Smith sent this report earlier.
Well, Annabelle, this time last week, this place was getting ready for that test event in front of around 11,000 people. The surprise act that night, Rick Astley. But capacity was cut, and last night the general manager, Gary Roden, resigned after a series of further problems and delays. Now, the comedian Peter Kay's shows, they were postponed. He was meant to have been the first act on stage this week. But this is what Gary Roden had to say back to us in February.
He's going to be the first person when the lights come on, where paying fans get to see an artist on this amazing thing that we built for Manchester, you know, Europe's biggest, best new arena.
Peter Kay's dates were first shifted to next week. Now there's another change towards the end of May, and as you can see from his new poster on X, the whole affair should give the Bolton comedian plenty of material when he finally takes to the stage here towards the end of May. By then, he'll be the 9th artist in the world to perform here, as he says. But of course, it's no joke for people who've shelled out lots of cash, made plans, perhaps booked hotels to come and watch a music event here or a comedian. And the statement, he says, is that he can't believe it. In his statement, he says, unfortunately, the Co-op Live still isn't ready. It's very disappointing, but your safety is very important, and I won't compromise that. And there was also a backlash over Gary Roden's comments to the BBC that some small venues just were poorly run. That statement from the arena said it didn't share that sentiment, and they've appointed a new manager. Now, the US rock band, the Black Keys, were meant to perform here tomorrow night. That now won't happen until mid-May. So all those hopes of having a night out, having a laugh, all pushed back. But the first act on stage here is Wednesday, the 1st of May, and that is a boogie with the hoodie. Back to you.
Mairead Smith reporting there. Let's get some of the day's other news now. And a woman's appeared in court charged with murdering a 90-year-old in Wirral. The body of Myra Thompson was found at a house on Boldway in Spittal late on Tuesday night. The accused, 51-year-old Jane Hill from Upton, is also charged with stealing cash from her 10 days earlier. Liverpool magistrates remanded her in custody to appear at Crown Court next week. Ofsted has launched an investigation after reports that an education provider in Greater Manchester is teaching conspiracy theories. The Times newspaper alleges children are being taught versions of the Great Reset theory, which claims a group of world leaders arranged the pandemic to seize control of the global economy. Well, Ofsted says it's shocked by the findings. The provider, Universal Kids, denies being a school, and it says that the term conspiracy theorist is unhelpful and used to mock people who have a different way of looking at the world. A woman from Preston will have her portraits displayed in the National Portrait Gallery, painted by Manchester-based artist Peter Davis. The artwork has been chosen to be part of the Herbert Smith Freehills Portrait Award at the London Gallery. Fahima Patel said seeing the finished work was a bit overwhelming. Lovely bit of music comes from none other than Grammy-winning musician will.i.am. He was in St George's Hall in Liverpool and had an impromptu go on the iconic 19th century Willis organ. The instrument, built in 1855, is currently undergoing restoration, so it was Will on the Willis. Lovely. And a giant doily crocheted by a Lancashire woman could help an artist win this year's Turner Prize. It's been draped over a red sports car by one of the nominees, Jasleen Kaur. It was made by Rachel Mills and her company Crochet Crazy Creations. Now, if you're familiar with this programme, you will know that we regularly cover the RHS Flower Show at Tatton Park, which this year celebrates its 25th anniversary. However, reaching that landmark coincides with major changes. The RHS has announced today that in future the show will only be held at Tatton every 3 years, moving to other locations in between to promote gardening across the country, as Ian Haslam reports.
After a quarter of a century, changes are afoot at Tatton. After this year's event, the next 2 RHS flower shows will be held in South Yorkshire and then at Norfolk's Sandringham Estate.
We were concerned that it would be a disappointment. Our numbers have been the same, that how do we actually bring more people in and how do we engage with them and how do we inspire more people to grow?
This month's inaugural RHS Urban Show in Manchester, which focused on gardening for small spaces, showed the charity isn't afraid to diversify, and that's reflected in its Tatton changes.
For us, it was about going to some really fantastic new locations, but also keeping the locations. And RHS Tatton is really close to our heart. We love it. When we come back in 27, we expect that the show will be larger, it will have more infrastructure there, and it will have more content.
Sarah Hinchliffe is a floral designer and flower farmer based in Macclesfield. She's exhibited at Tatton for the last 2 years, even designing the famous RHS letters.
So would you be prepared to go elsewhere in the country to exhibit in the future?
Yeah, I think I would. Obviously, for a lot of people, cost is a consideration if they're exhibiting or doing installations for RHS shows, so we would need to look at that carefully.
Do you genuinely think this could broaden the reach of gardening?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we saw that recently with the Urban Show. It was definitely a broader audience and a more diverse range of people that were involved. So if we're going to different regions, that can only be a good thing.
Well, this is the main showground here at Tatton. As you can see today, there are more deer and sheep than flowers, but that will all change between the 17th and the 21st of July, when around 60,000 people will come here and you won't be able to move for flowers.
Tatton Park is managed by Cheshire East Council on behalf of the National Trust. The council says breathing space between shows will enable it to consider fresh ideas.
It's a disgrace because it's the only thing that we have up in the north. No, this Tatton is history.
I think it's a shame because it's so nice and it's really good for the area and it attracts all different people, like all different ages.
It gives people opportunity that may well live further away for the flower show to be on their doorstep. I don't think it's a massive problem.
It may be the last for 3 years, but organisers say Tatton's 25th anniversary event will be a great celebration. Ian Haslam, BBC North West Tonight.
And as ever, we will be there. Now, it is less than a week away from the local and mayoral elections, and here in the North West there's also a by-election next Thursday. Voters in the Blackpool South constituency will be choosing a new MP after the resignation of the former Conservative Scott Benton. The constituency includes some of the most famous landmarks in the resort, but it also has some of the poorest areas. I've been to one neighbourhood to find out what people want from a new MP. Walk just a few hundred metres behind the comedy carpet and the iconic Blackpool Tower and you'll find the area known as Revo. According to government statistics, it's the second most deprived neighbourhood in England.
Hello dear, how are you? I'm all right.
The Revolution Community Hub is run by residents for residents, where they can get benefits advice and fill a shopping bag for a £5.
Peach slices. That's my fruit.
72-year-old Pat has lived here for most of her life and uses the food truck a couple of times a month.
I do like the area, you know, basically, although it has changed over the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years, really. Up to then, it was brilliant.
The Young at Heart group was set up in Revo when the local church closed down.
They have a cup of tea, have food, we have bingo, we play bingo, prize bingo, and just associate with other people. So there's an awful lot of need, not just for this sort of group, but for younger people as well.
There is a strong sense of community amongst the people we've spoken to today, but this is one of the most deprived areas in the country, and people tell us they want to see change. But how can that happen? Or perhaps more importantly, who can make that happen? While we're here, we meet Sherilyn. She came to Blackpool for a better life.
You know, all the glitz and glamour and promise of, you know, a fun life and, you know, but that's certainly not my experience here.
Sherilyn has suffered from addiction issues and wants an MP who understands.
You know, it might be nice if that person, whoever it is, offers the communities a chance to come in and do what you're doing today and ask people what it is they want and ask people what it is they really need.
Blackpool has received millions in government funding, most recently 90 million to improve housing. But some local people we spoke to say they feel forgotten.
They spend money on the prom for the people who come on holiday, but they won't do anything for the people who live here.
They've neglected us for far too long, and it's about time that they did something about it. I would like to say act upon what they actually say, not just say it.
Well, meanwhile, last night was the Greater Manchester mayoral television debate, and housing was one of the topics on the agenda.
Hi, my name is Mohammed. I'm 21 years old. How will the mayor be able to support young people in buying their first house?
Where we've had the investment money from government, that's been 57% of that money has been spent in city centre Manchester. The mayor's role is to make sure that all the areas around Greater Manchester benefit. No wonder Bolton wants to leave. It's seeing no money.
You can't talk about wanting to build homes without doing the difficult things, and I've done some of the difficult things as mayor. They have to go somewhere, right? So you have to take those tough decisions. But to answer Laura's, I was in town centre Bolton looking at new homes for social rent only on Saturday with the leader of Bolton Council.
3 simple words: build more homes.
Save our greenbelt! Where would you build them? The greenbelt is very controversial.
One of the key reasons that Stockport decided to step back from what was the Greater Manchester Spatial Framework is now the Places for Everyone plan is because we were concerned as a council about the level of building that could potentially happen on the green belt as a result of that.
I think rent controls play a really big part potentially in helping to keep the cost a bit lower, so that when you are renting, you can save up a bit more. You're not just paying off someone else's mortgage.
There's enough brownfield land already. We could build all the new homes that we need. There is. I've looked at the data myself. I don't know where you're looking, Andy, because it's all published.
Do you think they wouldn't have done it if they could?
I think this is a plan for the developers.
Brownfield.
It's a greenfield
cost
first.
a lot of money.
A greenfield first proposal.
No, it's not.
It is.
It's not. It's a brownfield first plan.
The only people who will benefit from this are the developers who own the land, who are going to make a big fat profit.
And there is a full list of all the candidates on the BBC website, and you can watch the whole debate again on the iPlayer.
In Leagues 1 and 2, it's the final fixtures of the regular season, and for our playoff hopefuls in particular, the nerves will be jangling.
After 45 games of hard slog for our League 1 and 2 sides, it all comes down to tomorrow's final regular fixtures.
Bolton Wanderers will probably have to settle for a place in the playoffs. As you can see, Wanderers trail Derby County by 3 points. Derby take on Carlisle, who are bottom of the table, already relegated. So it is unlikely, but if the Rams do slip up, then a heavy win for Bolton against Peterborough could do the trick.
To the games to come. The most important thing for me is we go there and we perform well.
For Blackpool, it's all about trying to get into the playoffs after a season where they've shone in the FA Cup and in the league have won their last 4 games in a row.
There are all sorts of permutations, as you can see. Effectively, 4 clubs are going for those final 2 playoff positions. Neil Critchley's side need to beat Reading and then hope that other results go their way.
We know we have to win, so we can go for it, and hopefully then, fingers crossed, we can have an eye on elsewhere and get some communication, hopefully, from our supporters in the stands as well, giving us some good news.
League 2 will see the champion Stockport aim to crown their fantastic season with all 3 points at Wrexham, with 2 of our sides, Crewe and Barrow, hoping to finish in the playoff positions.
Crewe need just a point to make sure that they finish in the playoff positions. They face Colchester, who need just a point to make sure that they stay up. My money is on a draw in that one. We shall see. As for Barrow, their hopes of staying in the top 7 rest probably on finding their first 3 points of a winless month. As you can see, a couple of teams are just behind them. They face already promoted Mansfield.
What we now need to do is to try and make sure that that motivation stays with us. It takes us into the game Saturday, and we can hopefully be the best version of us.
And with so much on the line and a big vocal crowd behind them, he'll be desperately hoping that the Bluebirds do find a way to get over the line at Holker Street tomorrow.
Now, a sort of staying in the sporting theme now. A Liverpool man has been reunited with 2 doctors who helped to save his life when he collapsed and had 2 cardiac arrests while he was out running. Grant Williams appeared on BBC Breakfast last week to appeal for help to find the quick-thinking doctors. Jane McCubbin has the story.
On Saturday the 9th of March 2024, Grant's heart stopped beating.
We was out to do a 12-mile run in prep for the Manchester Marathon. We stopped after 11 miles for a picture with the group, which we always do. literally 15 minutes further down the road. Just complete darkness.
I screamed Grant and looked up briefly, and everyone was just stood around me crying, and I thought, this can't happen, like this can't happen.
Grant is here today because of the quick thinking of his friends who started CPR and ran to find a defibrillator, but also because of 2 guardian angels.
As he stopped breathing, a lady came past and threw her bike down, and it turns out she was a doctor. A miracle of miracles. And then, as if by magic, another one appears and starts to help with the CPR. It was just amazing.
I was dead, and I was lucky.
You want to know who these doctors are, don't you?
I'd love to find out.
So, tell me your full name.
Mel Hamilton.
Do you want to just, I don't know, look
Camera
down
one.
the camera over there is camera 1. You see the number underneath it?
Never done anything like this before. If it was one of you, then please come forward and get in touch, because, you know, I'm indebted to the pair of you.
Joe and Mel.
You okay?
I'll go for a hug.
Oh my God.
How are you doing?
Oh, great to see you. On you, honestly, probably the most emotional I could be.
Oh, I know. It's so nice to see you and see you doing well. I cried actually, because it was just nice to finally have an answer on what had happened.
It was an immense feeling. So many questions I feel like I'd like to ask and all that, and like, what was you doing at that time? And
I was in the barbers across the road when it all happened, and then you went off in the ambulance. It was playing on my mind every day.
Oh.
I thought about you.
Oh.
It just makes you, I think, makes you realise that there's so many nice people out there.
Did you tell you that you broke 3 of his ribs?
No, but sorry about that.
Mate, you know what? I'll take that all day long. I got the chance to be, you know, a father, a son, and a brother again. So that's invaluable.
That's so lovely, isn't it? Right, let's get a look at the weather now. Emmanuel's here.
Hello.
What's it like?
Well, a rather chilly start for many of us this morning. -6 degrees Celsius is what we saw in Shap in Cumbria, -2 in parts of Lancaster. And really today has been a mix of sunshine and showers, hasn't it? Thank you to our weather watcher for sending us this lovely picture. The good news is it shouldn't be as cold as we head into this weekend. And whilst we will see some showers at times, heavy rain on Sunday, we are also expecting some sunny spells in between as well. So tonight then, some further showers moving in to the region, turning clear and dry though as we head into the early hours, and where it will be clear, it will be feeling quite cold as well. Temperatures potentially as low as -1 degrees Celsius. So then tomorrow, after a rather chilly start, we will see some sunny spells initially, but as you can see, as we head into the rest of the day, into the afternoon, those clouds thickening, some more showers moving into most parts of the region, but temperatures will be a little bit higher compared to what we've seen today, potentially highs of 13 degrees Celsius, where we see the best of the sunshine in parts of Cumbria. So then tomorrow we have an area of low pressure that's going to be moving away, but behind it is yet another area of low pressure moving in on Sunday. What that means is that the winds will turn to a more westerly. The low pressure will also bring us some rather heavy rain on Sunday. A closer look at the detail, you can see that rain moving in there. The good news, I think, for those of us potentially further west of the region, it will be quite clear, it should be quite dry. But of course, we'll see some cloudy conditions at times as well. Temperatures also potentially get into highs of 13 degrees Celsius. And then as we head into the new week, the area of low pressure, as mentioned, will bring us those winds from a more southwesterly direction. And of course, temperatures climbing. You can see their highs of 17, 18 degrees Celsius as we head into the new week.
So it is getting a little bit warmer, which is good news.
It is, yes.
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to that. Thank you, Manuel. Now, last night, we told you about the cheerleading pom team who were through to the final of the World Championships in Florida.
Well, here they are at the final in Disney World. Now, the group from Salford is the first ever pom team with special and educational needs and disabilities to represent Team England at the international event. So what did the judges think?
Our 2024 gold medalists and world champions, Team England.
So they did it.
They did.
Isn't that
amazing.
that is absolutely,
What an achievement.
it is. It's such an achievement. Huge congratulations. As I said, it is a fantastic achievement, particularly as apparently one of the girl's parents was told when she was a baby she'd never be able to crawl, let alone walk. And look what she's achieved, and all the others have achieved now. It is a fantastic achievement. Well done to the whole team.
That's amazing. That must be quite emotional as well, actually, for the
Imagine
family.
Imagine if you were watching at home, because I think some of them were watching at home as well. You'd be just in bits, wouldn't you? Seeing your little babies doing that. It's lovely. The team is going to be flying home at the weekend with the trophy. So with any luck, we might get to see them with it.
Oh, looking forward to it.
Lovely. Now, whatever you're doing this weekend, enjoy the warmer weather if it does finally warm up. And Phil McCann's here with your late news. Bye-bye.